Hello, my name is Professor Carolyn Christie from the Schulich School of Music, and I'd like to welcome you to the second of two workshops on the business side of music being given by Haley Marie. I'd like to start by thanking Stefan Lamla, the Chair of Performance at McGill, for his wonderful support of this project, the Catherine Thornhill Steele Grant for funding it, and of course, Devin Wilkinson and Jesse Rimes for their incredible assistance behind the scenes, and Arvind Krishendahal, who is our tech guru on this series. Haley Marie got her Bachelor of Music in Performance in the class of Timothy Hutchins. Haley's a wonderful flute player. She then went on to Yale University, where she got a master's degree in the class of Ranson Wilson. And in the 15 years since then, Haley has really made her mark as an entrepreneur in the world of music. So without further ado, I hand this over to Haley.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Carolyn. I said it last time and I'm going to repeat it. It's a pleasure to be here. It's really exciting for me to be here, spend this Friday afternoon here with all of you. And I am a firm believer that the best music schools in the continent and perhaps in the world are focusing on careers, possibilities, skills that their graduates are going to need. And so thank you so much to the Schulich School for having me, to Stefan, to Arvind, and for Carolyn, who has put in quite a large amount of work in getting this to happen, getting me here. And as I explained last time, Carolyn Christie was actually the entire reason why I applied and went to McGill in the first place. So thank you so much, Carolyn, for all the work you've done with this. I'm going to reintroduce myself for those of you who have not yet had a chance to watch part one, or for those of you who have forgotten. Professor Christie did part of that job for me. Thank you. After I graduated from McGill, I did my master's at Yale, like she said. After a brief sojourn in France, I spent a year in Los Angeles. I was a freelancer. I taught at the Orange County High School for the Arts, and I taught at college. I did that for 1 year, and then I decided that I really wanted to kind of branch out on my own, go my own way, and I gathered up the courage to do so. I started a company called Aurelia Productions after moving back to Canada. And Aurelia Productions, the entire purpose of the company was so to give me an opportunity to present live music how I wanted to audiences. I perform in the shows, I create them, and the company puts them on. Back in 2011 was the official start of the company. I did years of work before then, and the main goal for the company is to perform and create what I call live musical documentaries. I went quite in detail last time about why I did so. It has to do with the fact that in the lifetime of Beethoven and of Vivaldi and Handel and Chopin, concerts were quite different, a lot more interactive and casual, and this inspired me. The lives, the human lives of our great composers inspired me, that their lives were far from perfect and that they were filled with a lot of the trauma and struggles and joys that all of our lives are filled with. I thought this was fascinating. And when I shared this information casually with my audiences after performances, they thought it was fascinating too, but more than that, it changed the way they saw the music, and I was sold. I knew I wanted to do this for my career. It took quite a bit of courage to actually do this and carry this out. How does one start a company? How does one create their own series? It was something that I learned through, basically, one says the school of hard knocks, the hard way, by doing it, fake it until you make it. My shows basically are live concerts, but sandwiched in between each piece are live program notes. So in other words, there are either films or live storytelling in which I'm explaining to the audience about how Beethoven was really difficult to get along with and many people hated him. And I'm explaining about how Mozart had a very small attention span when it came to doing a lot of regular, everyday things. And I'm explaining to people how Schubert struggled terribly for money, and that he virtually had no public performances of his music during his lifetime, and that very few of the composers led the very glamorous elite lifestyles that we imagine. And in a way, these difficulties and challenges are exactly what we're here to talk about today. They are exactly the reason why I spent so much time last session talking about our need to form a community, our need to be together, be there for our colleagues, gather information, reach out to people. We spend so much time in the practice room being alone, and this does us a disservice. We are overall filled with more doubt and less communal knowledge than our other artistic counterparts, dancers and actors. And so I talked about that a lot last time. So again, if you didn't attend, please go back and watch it. It was a really great conversation to have. We're going to save all the questions. We're going to have a big Q&A session right at the end, like Devin mentioned. So I also encourage taking notes. So please write down your questions, write down notes. We're going to zoom through a lot of information over the next 90 minutes. And so please kind of grab onto that and take notes. Other things that we talked about last time, besides the need for people, the need for humanizing what we do. We are experts at what we do, and by the time we graduate, we are experts in knowing about intonation, vibrato, stylistic interpretation, so many different things. But if you are someone who's considering having a career that wants to reach out to the general public, we need to have an understanding of how to maybe translate that for the general public. I don't just mean performance. These skills are things that you'll need if you're going to be a teacher, full-time or part-time, a composer, a conductor, a wide variety of careers in the industry. So when I'm talking about these skills, don't just think of them, oh, well, I'll need that if I want to become a performer. Because teachers also need people and need followings and need contacts, and so do all of those other careers that I listed, and many, many more. We talked about setting yourself apart from the crowd, and that is something we need to do, again, no matter what stage we're in or no matter what field we're in. We also talked about developing contacts and reaching out to people and identifying your skills. And I made the argument that all of you have a lot of skills that you can share, that you can teach, the different areas that you can work in that you might not think of. How can you discover these? Well, by reaching out to people, connecting with people, seeing what other people are doing, maybe others who have 5 years more experience than you have graduated 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, people who are at the end of their career. We can learn from all of them. You can learn, I can learn, we can all learn as a community. So today's topic, we're getting into a lot of the nitty-gritty stuff, and so let's dive in. The topic is the long-term game. What can I reasonably do now? What can I reasonably do now to build the future I want? Okay, it's a big topic. It's a big question. When I graduated and started work in LA, like I said, I was getting the idea that would eventually turn into my company. I think as far as the steps it took to start a company, to do something different, to create a different series, I think that the biggest factor, the biggest skill I needed, honestly, was courage. the courage to recognize that my dreams and my passion for this, for the history, for the music, for sharing, for reaching out to people and connecting, was more important than any self-doubt I had. And that's it. It doesn't cost any money. There's no fancy secret. You don't need to go to more university to get it. It is having the courage to follow your dreams. And it is having also the stamina and the determination to stick with it when you get turned down the first time or the 51st time. And I told you last time that I love reading biographies of successful people. And if you do, you'll find that many of the hugely successful people out there have been rejected over and over and faced stumbling blocks and this and that, but they keep going. And it is my belief, as well as a lot of other successful people's belief, that the courage and the belief in yourself to keep going is what makes or breaks your success. It's not fancy, it's not glamorous. It's certainly not glamorous when I'm sitting here in some kind of old blue jeans with my hair slicked back at my computer sending out emails that I'm not sure if they're going to be responded to. So I can honestly say there is no secret to starting my company. How does one start a company? You say, I have a company, and then you register the name with your provincial office, which also just takes a quick Google search, and then you pay a very small amount of money for a number of years to use that name. Do you need to do that? No, you don't need to do that, actually. It's not a necessary step. But you deciding that you're going to do it and sticking to it is the factor. Along the way, I needed a lot at all of the skills we talked about last time. I needed people to an incredible degree. People have helped me every single time I was lost, which is very, very often. In fact, the last time I was lost was yesterday morning, and I had to send an email to my director telling her that I had no idea how to get the input list and the documents that a theater that we're working with needs. And I feel lost on a regular basis. It's not because I'm never lost that I'm successful. It's because I know what to do when I am lost. The truth is that starting an initiative, it doesn't have to be a company, starting an online studio, starting a Baroque music society, anything like that is going to take a lot of skills. I don't have all those skills. You don't have all those skills. No single person does have all those skills. Hence the need for people. And you, in turn, can offer your skills to other people as we go along. So my team originally was me. That was it, me. And it grew slowly from there. People coming in, sometimes people, didn't quite work out, and I had to change out personnel. I now have a team of about 12, all of which are jobs that are related to music or in music that any of you could do. And I said last time about going to a movie and the people who are in the movie industry stay to the end and watch all of the credits, and who did the lighting design here and who did the costume design when they were in Ireland, and they know the nitty-gritty about the industry. And I want you to know the nitty-gritty about the industry as well. My team includes a director, a lighting and projection designer who specializes in music performance, musicians, a whole host of musicians in various genres, because I perform music in various genres. I have a team of lawyers, because sometimes if I'm using images, which I use hundreds of projected visuals in my show, I need to make sure that I'm going to have the legal right to use them. Sometimes I need to call my lawyers about contracts, as I did only a month ago, all kinds of things. Graphic designers, animators, interviewers, social media manager, business mentors, and coaches for all kinds of things, including how to speak to audiences, including fashion, including all kinds of things. with, with the amount of people I need on a regular basis, you'd think I know how to do very little. But I have 2 degrees in music, so I hopefully can offer that. So that is to say 2 things. Number 1, I started out just me. Do you need 12 people to start a company? No, 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 you don't. Will you build and gather relationships on the way? Sure you will. And that's exciting. Topic 1 for today is marketing. Marketing. And I know to many music students, this is a dirty word. This is, oh, marketing, oh, I don't want to do this. I feel uncomfortable doing this. Marketing is not a dirty word. All companies, all organizations, all professionals need to market themselves at some point. And what marketing is letting people know what you're doing, which isn't dirty or sleazy at all. Letting people know what you're doing and why it's interesting, why you've worked hard for it to make it a quality product, okay? The biggest musicians on the planet, when they tour, they have an entire team that markets, and they get themselves on the sides of buses and on billboards and radio ads and whatever. If they need marketing, I'm talking about the very biggest celebrities in the world. I'm talking about Elton John. I'm talking about Celine Dion, the Dixie Chicks, who are now called the Chicks. They need marketing. That means I need marketing. That means you need marketing. To let people know what it is you're doing. Last time I mentioned how important it is to actually know what it is you want to do, specifically what it is you want to do, instead of just, I don't know, I'm hoping to get a job in music. That's a really wide variety of jobs, right? It's like saying, I hope to get a job at a hospital. Well, do you want to be a boiler technician? Do you want to be a surgeon? Do you want to be an administrator? These are going to require very, very different skill sets. So after you decide what it is you want to pursue, or what it is you want to do, then you're going to focus on the marketing of it. All right? It doesn't matter if you want to do it short term or long term, or whatever the case may be. Even if you decide that you want to pursue something, and then a few years later something else becomes more interesting, the skills and experience you will have achieved and received in marketing will help you. Okay? So this doesn't have to be, oh, I know that I'm going to be doing this until I'm 68 years old. No, very few people these days are sure of that. We market ourselves all the time, whether we know we are or not. Every time we interact, every time we send an email or any other kind of online message, every time we get on video chat, we talk with people in person, we talk on the phone, anytime we interact, we're marketing ourselves. And I moved into the condo building where I live 3 years ago. And the day I moved in, I was wearing old blue jeans and a big sweater, carrying many big boxes, probably huffing and puffing, and the neighbor across the hall introduced himself to me. And of course I just thought, oh, okay, yeah, there's the neighbor, there we go. He ended up commissioning the biggest show that I have to date, and he has been one of my biggest patrons and supporters. So we're not expected to be on performance mode all the time, but how you talk about yourself, the confidence, the language you use does matter. It really does matter. Being able to market yourself, we're talking about all forms of communication. And we're talking, like I said, we're talking about something that will help in the short term and in the long term. When you communicate what you do and who you are, when you're in a situation where somebody's asking you, so what do you do? Or, oh, you graduated last year. Well, what do you do? You want to be as clear as possible. And that's for a couple reasons. I'm also thinking about social media, written communication. People receive a lot of stimulation every day, a lot of social media posts, a lot of emails. People don't have a lot of time, a lot of attention span to go through a lot of things. So get to the heart of what you want to say quickly. It helps to have a 30-second elevator speech at any stage of your career. 30 seconds, it's not long, but it's scary. It's scary because somebody's asking you, what do you do? Go. And spotlight's on you. And what do you do? And this is usually where we get a lot of people kind of looking, just graduated. I like to play music. Tchaikovsky's my favorite. And we can do better than that. If we're just given 30 seconds, we can definitely do better than that. Practicing your elevator speech is really, 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 really worth it. We practice our scales, we practice intonation, we practice timing with the metronome, and this 30 seconds that can be so, so helpful really is worth practicing. I want to say at least twice a week. Your elevator speech will evolve because things are going to happen and exciting things are going to happen, and so you're going to want to get that in. If you're somebody who's shy, like I am actually, which you might not believe, but it's true. If you're somebody who's shy, then practice is super helpful for you. And here's what you do. You go in front of, this curtain here is hiding a big mirror for a reason, because I stand in front of the mirror very often. And that's a good way to make yourself nervous and put the pressure on. Put your phone to 30 seconds. What do? Go. And the first time you do it, it's going to be rough. There's going to be a lot of, well, actually, no, but really this, and then you'll learn. And don't give up after the first time, because by the fourth time, it's going to be way better. And by the 10th time, it's going to be starting to get pretty good. As an extra pressure cooker, record yourself. Videotape yourself on your phone, and you're going to see the body language that you use, and you're going to see all kinds of things that make a big, big difference, all right? Because, for example, the man who lives across the hall from me, he's not a musician, and he doesn't know all the details of when I play a phrase better or not as well, but he does know about how I talk about what I do. He knows how I present myself. He knows that I can engage audiences. And so this stuff is really, really important, really important. Social media is also huge. We all know that. And a lot of you grew up at a younger age with social media, obviously, than I did. Social media is scary in a way because we can spend an endless amount of time posting, sharing, commenting, joining groups, all these things. So first of all, social media addiction is a real thing, and that's been proven over and over. It's clear and it's important to have boundaries with how much you use it. Having said that, as much as sometimes I wish I could delete my profiles, I can't, because my business is reaching out to people and is being engaging for people. And so if you're thinking, how can I build a good social media presence? Become a fan of other people. As in, go to their site, find people you like. It doesn't have to be musicians, but you should have musicians, quite a few, that you are a fan of. And when I say be a fan, I don't just mean hit the like button and then, I'm done for the day. I mean, go on their site. Why do you like it? Again, going back to knowing the nuts and bolts about the industry. Is it the way they do their visuals? Is it their language in their posts? Interact with them. Yes, like photos, post other things, post related things, engage. And by seeing their profile, you'll learn. This is free education. A lot of people they're hesitant about coming across, oh, well, I don't just want to talk about what I do. I'm so shy. I'm not a business person. I don't want to push myself and talk about how good I am. Good, then don't do that. A good social media profile has a nice mix of 3 things, and this is directly from my own social media manager. He says a third of your posts should be about your product, what you do, who you are. What are you selling? Okay? So could be about your flute studio, could be about your conducting projects, could be about whatever it is you do professionally. That's a third. Another third of your posts are about you, getting people to know you, who you actually are as a human being, okay? Of course, we want to present somewhat a professional approach. I wouldn't post, oh, sitting here Friday night, I just realized my hoodie has a big hole in it, right? But something that is personable, that is relatable. Sometimes people post about their pets. Sometimes people post about the marathon they just did. The goal in this third is that people know you more than just, oh, that's the person who always wants me to go to her show, right? The last third is not about you. Not about you at all. The last third is about other things other than you, like other things going on in the industry. Support people. If you have a colleague or someone you don't know who you think is doing great things, share it. That share button is really, really, really powerful. It is a very good way to get on people's good side. Because if you have however many friends, a few hundred friends, and I post something, well, now my post has just reached a few hundred more people, just because you hit a button called share. It's really the kind thing to do. Don't do it if you don't believe in it. Don't do it if you don't actually like the product. Be genuine about it. And I'm going to show you some examples right away of situations like that. But something else that's not you. And this is where people will see in your profile, oh, he's not just pushing his own stuff. He's a real human who does other things too, but happens to be a great Baroque cellist. Okay? We're going to go through some examples right now. I've picked a small handful of social media profiles that I want you guys to see. I've used them with permission. And we're going to start with Liz Parker. Elizabeth Parker, who, if any of you know the Parker brothers, Jamie and John Camara Parker, this is her sister, their sister, who's a stylist, as in a fashion stylist for classical music photo shoots. She's a piano teacher, and this is her personal Facebook profile. Again, I've used this with permission. This is her personal profile, so not even her business profile. She's fantastic at what she does and at sharing her identity of, hey, I'm just a woman kind of making it in the world, struggling with the same things as you and me. I'm also really into fashion, and I have a lot of ideas about fashion, and I can style your photo shoot if you want. And by the way, I also teach piano. Here is her social media profile. Okay, here we go. She has her whole Zoom setup. This is very current, right? This isn't a year old. This is like, wow, this is probably what her setup looks like right now. I feel like maybe one of her students right now already. Here she's representing the fashion side of things. She's always taking photos in kind of more daring outfits than what I would wear. I'm gonna fast forward since we obviously can't make it through all of this. She shares videos during her lessons. So here's a short little video.
Yep, we're rolling. Okay, so it's a hot day. Clearly, proof I'm not vain. Hair is up, glasses, whatever. This is Micah. And how old are you?
6.
He's 6. And the EQ is confirmed at 1 Asian person. So we're going to attempt the rainbow. Stop looking at yourself. Who's the melody? You or me?
Me.
Okay, so who gets to be louder? You or me? Right. And if one of us messes up, do we stop and start over? No, what do we do?
Skip. Ignore it.
Yeah, you keep going. Okay, so let's do this. Is it R-E, son?
E-R.
E-R. It's E-R. I gotta think E-R. Okay, so 1 bar, nothing. E-R, son. Okay, don't be late. women don't like it when men are late, okay? We like them to be punctual, okay? Okay, let's try this again. Men don't like it when, no, women don't like it when men come in early, okay? Okay, be on time. Son.
And they do make it through the entire duet at the end. Okay, so she often shares videos, short videos from her lessons. She shares photo shoots that she's worked on, often with her, you know, on her stomach somewhere, fixing a dress, doing something, shining something up. It's a photo of Aaron Wall, who recently passed away. And the last video I wanted to show you, see, things that have nothing to do with music here, just fun things, because it's her personal profile. And here is a video she did of her current setup teaching online.
Okay, so here's my setup for teaching. I've got my iPad mini here. Got my circle light here. Oscillating fan, because I get hot. Put my cell phone here, because sometimes I have to use my cell phone while teaching. Books all organized by grade so I can follow along while they're playing. Footstool for back support, very important. And I've got another phone stand here.
So she takes us through basically an entire walkthrough of her little props for children. And I don't know about you, but by the time I'm finished going through not even her professional Facebook profile, but her personal one, I want to sign up for piano lessons so I can be on one of her videos. She has shown us a balance of that she's fun. She hauls out stuffed animals in that video, but yet that she's a good piano teacher. She doesn't let her students come in late for the duets and all of these things. She asks who has the melody, who should be louder. I want to sign my kid up for piano lessons with her, and I don't even have a kid. That's what she's done with her personal profile. We're going to go over to her professional teaching, this is just for teaching, website. Okay, here she is. She has a COVID notice and a great picture, and a bio here. Similar to bios we talked about last time, she introduces herself as a person and also tells us about why we should actually trust her to teach us or our children music, okay? We learned that her whole family was musical. She has many degrees, is what she's saying here. She loves to work with kids, a sense of humor, but also discipline, no slouching or flat fingers, a mix of serious music lessons and fun. Her brother, Jamie Parker, also has a great social media presence, but he's a completely different person. He has a very dry sense of humor. He's older than her, and so he kind of plays on the old piano professor kind of thing. The reason why I'm saying that is because you don't need to fit into one cookie cutter personality in order to be successful online. Far, far from it. There's there's a cellist that I know of who is a very serious character. Here is his Instagram. He calls it the Stoic Cellist. And this is what he's done. He's created these visuals just by a simple program online. And he has videos. You can see his face is always very serious, sayings. And so this is kind of a very intense Zen kind of yoga for cellists, overcoming physical injuries, mental obstacles, pushing through things. And so he's a completely different character, but you know what you're gonna get when you go to his Instagram page. And his page is a good mix of visuals, just these images, and then these are videos where he's actually playing. When I was creating my own social media presence, I mean, creating a presence is something that evolves all the time. Here is my own Instagram, which is, like I say, a mix of personal, of professional, of other things. My site, I have decided that the identity of my site is going to involve a lot of timeless things, because this is a big factor, a big theme in what I do. Whether I cover the Beatles, Debussy, Bach, Mozart, somebody else, we're going back in time. I love going back in time. I play upon kind of the nostalgia. You'll see almost all of my visuals are on this old dated sheet of paper, and that I actually have more text handwritten with my own, it's my own handwriting, than I do typing. I think it's more personal. It's obviously more old-fashioned. This is kind of my MO, my raison d'être. What could have inspired these artists so much that they were driven to write music that seems to have made them immortal? I posted this video of me playing. It was a lot more successful than I thought. People loved it, even though I was just kind of toying away at the piano. I added a little bit of humor here at the end. I was at my friend's and she just bought a toy piano. Here, it was just John Lennon's 80th birthday, so we did a lot of content on John Lennon. Again, the handwriting and the old sheet music brings people back. And again, more handwriting. This is my social media interviewer. We talk a lot about all kinds of things. The reason why I have an interviewer, I don't need an interviewer. I could just do videos by myself, but the thing is that he brings a different side to the whole conversation. Sometimes I say things and I really have no idea that they're interesting because I'm a musician and I've known these things my whole life. Or sometimes he makes jokes when I get too serious. Let's see here. So this has nothing to do with music. You spend most time in your head, make it a nice place to be. I think it's something a lot of people can relate to. And of course, people love images, so I got this fancy image of me up. And then I also shared that the Louvre is doing a video walkthrough at night. So I thought people who are interested in art, people who are interested in going back in time, might be interested in this, and it's a different way to relate people. So that is my Instagram page. Like I said, become a fan of others. As you progress with your career, you will learn that actually investing money is not as important as one may seem. In order to start an organization or a company, you do not need to have $50,000 in the bank. Money helps, of course money helps. But surprisingly enough, if you find yourself a few years after graduation in a situation where you are able to invest a small, and I mean Starbucks amounts, a small amount of money, you can buy ads to reach out to people on Facebook and on Instagram. And you can spend $6 a week is the minimum. So if you can find $6, so let's say once a month, and you will begin to build a social media profile, a social media following. And over time, this is like saving for your retirement, which I know sounds like an unrelated topic, but over time, that's going to build and build and build and build. When I started my profile, I started the social media game a lot later than other people, and I had a lot less followers than other musicians, other colleagues of mine. And I've kept up every week, putting in $6, putting in $10, and now I've surpassed most of the colleagues that I was thinking about initially. So it's something that is really good to have because you'll want a following no matter what you are doing. If you're a teacher, if you're whatever, if people trust you and go to you for information about music or for information about education or composing or whatever, And then you decide, well, actually, instead of doing this, I'm going to actually switch a little bit in the music field. They'll still trust you. They'll still be interested in what you have to offer. So it's really something that you can learn, creating a good social media profile that you can learn by studying others. All right, let's change gears. We're going to talk about business skills, which is a huge topic, but we're going to dive in. Business, just like marketing, is not a dirty word. It's not a dirty word because earning money is not dirty. And this is really, really something I feel the need to say to you all right now. Because musicians, this is a very big weakness. In fact, I would say probably the biggest weakness is dealing with money and the self-doubt about being paid money. When you go to the grocery store and if you want to buy potatoes and an apple, it's going to cost you money. Therefore, you need to earn money. You need to pay rent. So you need money for that. You are worth something. Your time is worth something, all right? And you wouldn't believe the number of times that I've hired professional musicians. Ask them, can you tell me what is your rate? And the majority will say, they'll look away. I go, well, you know, I'm happy to play. I don't know, whatever you think. That's not a good answer. Say something. Say that you're worth something, because at that rate, with that answer, I feel like, wow, I could just pay you nothing and take you out for a piece of cake at the end and you'll be more than happy, right? That's not a good message to send. Even if you feel, oh, I'm new in the industry or this or that, you are definitely worth something. And so this is my final big mistake for our series. I pointed out, I think, 3 big mistakes last time that I don't want you to do. And this is the final one. Big mistake number 4, not being able to talk about money, not being able to admit that you are worth money. Besides the fact that you are worth money and you're worth something, your time, your energy, your expertise, if you move into a new city and start teaching for a very low rate, the other teachers in your area will now have people think, well, why am I charging so? Maybe I'm charging too much. And then the parents or the students are saying, well, why am I paying you so much when I can hire this other person for less? It's not being nice. It's not being kind to undercharge, to charge very little money. Perhaps you're doing a favor to your clients temporarily, but it's not sustainable. It's going to stress you out, and it is actually being unkind to our industry, our field. We give away things for free and for very little money far, far too often. And so this is where a balancing act comes in. The balancing act, when we're negotiating, when we're talking about money, we need to respect others and give them fair rates and everything, but we have to respect ourselves. And if you're not doing both, the situation, the contract, the project, the job is going to be unsustainable. You're either going to be too stressed out because you have to work 3 other jobs at the same time just to pay the bills. You're not going to be able to give your full time, all of these things. When I was pretty new at this idea of theaters hiring my company to put on shows, a director from a company, from a theater, she asked me, how much do you charge for your show? And I gave that exact answer. I said, I don't know. And then I listed an amount that was a fifth of the minimum of what people would want to pay. And she looked at me, she said, don't say that. It makes it seem like you're worth nothing. And I thought, but wait, I'm worth something. I have a degree from McGill. I have a degree from Yale. I've played at Carnegie Hall. I've done this freelancing work in LA. I'm worth something. Well, say it if you're worth something. Say it by asking politely, kindly, and professionally for a reasonable amount of money. Now, maybe you're thinking, but I don't know what that is. I don't know what rates to charge for freelancing, for teaching, for something else. Well, guess what? This is where contacts come in. This is where you need to know your market, your city, teaching in Toronto and Montreal is going to earn a lot different fees than in rural Saskatchewan. It's just the difference of the cost of life. Reach out to people, talk with them. I was brand new when I moved here where I live now in Oakville, south of Toronto, and I reached out to a colleague. I barely knew him. He was the only one I knew, and he gave me his entire rate schedule. He was so kind. Like I said last time, people are kinder than you think. So I looked at his rates and I said, do I have more education than him? Less. Do I have more experience than him? Less. And I adjusted my rates a little bit, and that's what I go on. Google search will also help you with these things, but honestly, not as much as contacts. As far as the business of communicating and written communication goes, this is really, really important, especially since I think for actually people, even my age, certainly your age, we're dealing with people who are older than us, largely. And so the art of writing an email is not complicated, but it's important. I gauge my emails, the formality of my emails on who I'm writing to and on how they write. So with every professional email that I send, I have a greeting, which could be everything from Dear Mr. Ferguson, more formal, to somebody I've been working with for 20 years, Hey Dan, but it's there in whatever format, all right? Paragraphs. Using paragraphs instead of just one block of text makes you look like a more intelligent writer. When we meet with somebody in person, we have the ability of, we can look at people in the eye, we can shake their hand, it's very nice to meet you, we can dress nicely. And when we're writing an email, the way we write an email is that conduct, is that respect. And if your emails have no punctuation, no capitals, no paragraphs, it's the equivalent of showing up to a meeting in sweatpants. Don't do it. So I'm going to show you some emails that I have written years ago. These are not for this workshop. I've blacked out some personal information and some names. I'm going to start with showing you an email that I recently wrote to somebody that I have known for about 25 years. He is a producer who has worked on many of my projects. I've spent many, many hours of my life with him. We haven't talked in a few months, but I know him very, very well. And I wrote him a little while ago because I wanted to ask him if he was free to have a chat, to talk with him about a new branch of my company. So here's the email I sent. And keep in mind, I've known this guy for 25 years. I used his name, which is what's blacked out here. I love using people's name. It's more personalized. I know who I'm talking to. I know who I'm writing to. As a rule, I start out emails with something positive, something friendly. I saw the recent article about you. Bravo. And I hope you're managing to navigate through this year. Great. I could have just left it at bravo and ended it there, but I wanted to go a little further. New paragraph. I'm talking about, why am I writing him? What's going on? What's up? I wanted to know if you were maybe free for another chat. Why? I'm starting another branch of my company and I wanted to do school shows, and so I figured this is a great time. I wanted to go into a little more detail in case you wanted to prepare. I'm wondering basically about, and these were very specific things that had to do with money, that had to do with contracts and arrangements. Here's my closer. Let me know if you think we could throw around some ideas. Thanks so much, and talk soon. As a rule, I always end with something positive. And I use my shorthand abbreviation HM. Again, keep in mind all of these casual things because I've known him for such a long time. Next, when he responds, I'm going to soak up all of the nuances of that. And here, where is his response? Here we go. Here's his response. Keep in mind, he's also, I would say, mid-60s. So quite a bit older than me. Hi, Haley. Lovely to hear from you. Maybe sometime this week. Let me know what might suit you best. Stay safe. And he signed off with his name. This is a lot more casual than what I wrote. This is a lot more casual. So my response, I went a little more casual too, but still kept to my principles. Used his name again. Sounds great. I went straight to the point because now we've already started an email chain. I'm free at these times. Do they work? And here's my, again, signing off with something positive. Looking forward to it. You'll notice that I do have my signature. That's an automatic thing that pops up every single time, because with every single email, I try to represent that level of professionalness. Okay? So, like I said, that's somebody that I've known for a long time. Here's somebody that I've never met before. An introduction to my company. And I was introduced through a colleague. So, dear so-and-so, your name was given to me by a mutual colleague. So in other words, I know this person's wondering, well, who is Haley Marie and why is she writing? So I'm saying, hey, I'm a friend of a friend or a colleague of a colleague. And gave some details there. Next paragraph, we're diving in. All right, now I know who you are, but what do you want from me? I'm the founder and artistic director of Aurelia Productions. This is what I do. Guess what? This is my elevator speech. This is my elevator speech that I've written over and over and over. I can write it in my sleep. I can say it in my sleep. I always use the same key words. I tour live musical documentaries. They're called The Men Behind the Music. What they do is they combine over 300 projected visuals, storytelling, songs, live band, bring the audience behind the scenes. Behind the scenes, I think I've used that phrase 1,500 times. This is a trademark for me. It's not boring, it's not repetitive, it's what I do. It's consistent. That's what people can expect from me. Here's a video of what I do, and then since he's somebody that's very experienced in the industry, I wanted to say, hey, I have a team also helping me. People who have worked in the Cirque du Soleil. Now, let's get to something more concrete. I am writing to introduce myself, to invite you to my show. This is the date. It's sold out. In other words, trying to explain we have a good product going. That's why you should be interested. And then, of course, at the very end, I'll leave it there for now. I wish you a great weekend with my best. No HM, Haley Marie. So that's how I carve out an email to somebody that would be a colleague of a colleague that I've never met. I check this kind of email 3 or 4 times for spelling mistakes and for grammar. I also do things like I do add semicolons, M dashes. Here's an M dash. If you're somebody who doesn't feel confident with grammar, like I say, it's worth it to present well in an email. So I'm going to suggest a very short, quick, fun, quirky little grammar book, which is Eats, Shoots, and Leaves. It's short. It's like this tiny little book that you can read when you're in the car, in the bath or something, and it's fun and it's funny also. It's an entertaining read, and I learned everything that I know about grammar from this book. I regularly proofread my husband's project emails and things like that, and it's all from that book. In spoken communication, the pressure's on. The pressure's on because there's no delete button or anything like that, all right? But spoken communication is also the best way to communicate because it's where you can get the best impact. You can achieve the best impact. People can hear the tone in your voice. They can see your body language. They can hear your passion for what you do. So going back to the mirror, practicing in front of the mirror, going back to videotaping yourself on your cell phone. The first time, like I say, you're probably going to hate it and, oh, that's not what I want to do. Stick with it for 4 or 5 more times and you'll notice a big, big difference. My last topic for business, it has to do with inequalities in business. I'm talking about biases. I'm talking about racism. I'm talking about sexism. I'm talking about homophobia. I'm talking about all kinds of things like that. This is a big deal in today's world. It's always been a big deal. Unfortunately, in the past, it has gone unnoticed, perhaps, uncommented on, and we're now at a point in society where we talk about these things, which is really, really great. The first thing I actually want to say is that business, when you're talking about business, when you're talking about money and jobs, everyone is looking after themselves first, because you have to, because that's our job in life. Business dealings can sometimes be tense. People disagree, and that goes for everybody, of every orientation, gender, skin color, ethnicity. So do take some time. If you're in a difficult situation, do know that tense business situations do happen to everybody. But if you are in a situation where you feel that you are being prejudiced against for any reason, I want you to know that you'll never be able to force people to change their mind, unfortunately. There will be people who have biases that are not right, and it's not your job to change them. It is your job to protect yourself and to make sure that you're treated fairly. I'm going to speak for a moment about personal experience and one of the ways in which I'm a minority, which is that I'm a woman. And a lot of people, in my experience, assume, perhaps also because of my age, perhaps because I'm a young company owner, that I'm unable to negotiate. I just want to make people happy and laugh, and I don't talk about money really well. And so is that something I've encountered? Yes, it is. There's no cookie cutter answer for how to deal with situations, because you can get tens of thousands of different situations. And sometimes we're in a situation where it's clearly unsustainable. And in those situations, please remove yourself from the circumstances. There are bodies and organizations to go to that can help. Please use them. A lot of times, though, I find that people encounter situations where it's daily small occurrences, regular small occurrences of inappropriate comments that you go home and you're thinking, well, that wasn't really right, but it's just one little comment, and then it builds and it happens again. And well, it's just two little comments. I don't know what to do. In a situation like that, one possible answer is to bring it up in an impersonal, casual way, professional way. Don't laugh when you're talking about it, even though you may want to. Practice in front of the mirror, and you may just want to say something, not directed, not say, I think you don't take me seriously because I'm a woman. But you may just want to say something like, you know, I'd like to discuss the contract negotiations. I feel like sometimes people think that women don't negotiate well or don't need a proper compensation, but I'd like to take this seriously. Have I accused the other person of doing anything? No. Have I brought it up and kind of got on their radar? Absolutely. This takes a great amount of courage to bring these things up. And unfortunately, many professionals don't have the courage to do this. So if you are doing something like this, you are really raising the bar and gaining respect that a lot of other people don't have the courage to do. Your comment will be noted, and statistically, the chances are the situation will then resolve itself then. Of course, that may not happen. And I was in a situation about 2 months ago, where I had to kind of go to step 2 of my own approach, which was that I was being bullied. I was being bullied by somebody who was older than me and somebody who was not a female. And what would happen is that we had group Zoom calls with other people, and all would be very friendly and good. And then after they would finish, I would get a phone call, one-on-one phone call, where I was bullied and manipulated. And this went on twice. And then after that, I started to get a recorder ready to record future phone calls from this person. And then I finally sent him an email in writing. It's nice to have a record of these things in writing, saying, I feel, not you are, not you did this, I feel. You know, I have to say, I feel I've been bullied the last few times we've talked on the phone. This concerns me, and I hope we can move forward respectfully. And I have not encountered any of that behavior again. Another benefit of this, I have this in writing. So if something worse happens, I can now go, I have this email dated July or whenever it was, and I can say to, if I need to go to somebody else, look, this has been going on for months, and that's very powerful. That's very, very, very powerful. So I always find it's about striking a balance between bringing it up, but using words that are not accusatory. If you accuse anybody of anything, even if you're completely right, the situation, it's a very combative situation, which should not be pulled out as a first reaction. Very few people have the courage to bring these things up, and we can all make the workplace better and more ethical if we do. Never hide who you are in any way. Never. Be proud of who you are. The world needs more diverse people, and they need people who are proud of who they are. And we need you, and we need the real you, not some fake version of you, because that's bad marketing. And not only is it bad marketing, it's immoral, and it's not true to yourself is the most important reason. So be true to yourself, because the world definitely needs that. Okay, the last topic, I know we're getting into question time soon. I do want to use an example, bringing in a lot of the concepts I've talked about, and use the example of creating your own online studio, because this is something that all of you can do. And I thought it would be nice to kind of bring in all of the concepts. If you want to start an online studio or an in-person studio, I would look back at all the concepts we've talked about. Who are you and what are you selling, right? We saw Liz Parker's profile. She clearly is identifying herself as a teacher of small children, a good, high-quality teacher of small children. Maybe you don't want to do that. Maybe you want to teach adults. Maybe you want to teach in group settings. Maybe you want to do something more specific. And maybe you have a certificate in working with a specific sector of the population, seniors, something like this. So give some good thought to what you want to do. The issue of teaching online, I think we need to, I certainly thought about whether I wanted to teach online or not when the pandemic started, but a lot of us thought that the pandemic was going to last about 2 weeks, and clearly it's not. Providing lessons and education to students in any means that we can in a time that is unstable and inconsistent and unknown is a really valuable thing. And one of the benefits is that you can teach anybody around the world. So now I'm going to ask the question, if you know another language, or if you have contacts in another part of the world, why not teach there? Why not teach on Zoom or online there? We are able to reach anybody. And I think Arvind and I last time, we realized that we live 30 minutes from each other, but it doesn't make a difference. I can talk to him no more easily than any of you. This also means that all kinds of people around the world that have never had access to a teacher now have access to a teacher. That's incredible. I'm talking about people who live in remote areas. I started to teach online 5 years ago, and only having a few students online. One of the reasons why I started to teach online was because when I was on tour in northern Manitoba, 9 hours north of Winnipeg, I met this boy in grade 9, I think he was, who adored the flute. And there's no flute teacher in his town or anywhere within a 10-hour driving distance. So I thought to myself, wow, teaching him online and him having a flute teacher is way better than him not. And now he's at the University of Ottawa studying. And so There are all kinds of populations like that. Not only do the people want to have a music teacher, they want to have some kind of regularity in their lives at a time when there are a lot of unknowns in this pandemic. And that same town still doesn't have a flute teacher because the only flutist, my student, left. And so there in itself is a whole community that to this day, today, doesn't have access to a flute teacher. So there must be how many? There must be hundreds of these. Do research, reach out to the band teachers. A lot of them would be delighted. Oh, wow, we can get some flute lessons going on. We can get any lessons. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be a flutist. And so I would send the band teacher an email, a business email, just like the ones I showed you. Introduce yourself. And there are all kinds of opportunities that happen that way. How much are you going to charge? This goes back to the same discussion about reaching out to contacts, knowing the industry. Maybe there's a piano teacher in that town. You can ask him or her what an acceptable rate might be. Social media, forums. Maybe there's a band Facebook page for the community. Post there. The possibilities are really, really endless. And you can even, if you have $6 in a week to spend on Facebook marketing, you can even specify on Facebook ads, I just want to advertise to this one town. You can do that. Many of you may know that or not. You can specify gender, age, and geography, and interests, which is pretty incredible. It means that your $6 are going to actually do some good work for you. Would I do pro bono work for free? The problem with pro bono work is that it takes away from the value of what we're doing, just as undercharging, like I mentioned before. You may get asked to do it. You probably will. Musicians are asked to do it a lot. There are other ways that you can be compensated. There are other, sharing on social media, boosting content, finding new students, things like that. But would I undercharge? No, I don't think I would. There are all kinds of workarounds. For example, if the band teacher in the community tells you, listen, unemployment has gone up and jobs are scarce in our community. You can teach group lessons. Why not cut your rate by 60%, but teach 2 students at a time that are comparable in age and level. Things like that. There are many, many workarounds, and it just takes some creative thinking, and contacts can help you brainstorm with that for sure. One more big point I want to make is to give value to what you're selling, whatever that is. This will help in your elevator speech. What you have, the skills you have, the knowledge you want to share is worth a lot more than what you might sell yourself as. For example, I'll use my company as an example. I could say, oh, what I do, I play music and I share funny stories about the people who wrote it. All right, that sounds okay, but not much more than okay. What do I really do? Well, what I really do is I share the story of genius, the story of the human condition, things that we all struggle with, like relationships and money and stress and careers, and I give people an escape and also reassurance that even the best and brightest minds in our history go through these things. It's therapeutic to me, it's therapeutic to my audience. I, then perform the music for them and give them a break from lives in which we're checking cell phones every 45 seconds and, take them away to 1810 or whatever the case may be. We need that. We need that especially during a pandemic. And for people to know that, first of all, this isn't the only pandemic humankind has been through. Let's talk about Stravinsky and Prokofiev, who lived through the Spanish flu. And that connection on a human level, that's what I sell. That's why I do what I do. It's not because, Oh, I think it's so funny that Beethoven always had last night's dinner hanging around. Ha ha ha, what an idiot. That's the last thing I want to do is degrade and devalue great composers. I want to share the inner workings of what they do. Let's compare that. Let's use that same approach to teaching. Somebody asks you, what do you do? Oh, I teach flute. All right. Oh, what else do? You do a lot more than teach your instrument. You inspire children. You teach them skills of how to approach problems creatively, which all surgeons, lawyers, accountants, everybody needs. We talk about how to present yourself to an audience, body posture, things that are going to pay off for our bodies when we're 80 years old. We learn about history. We learn about physics, about the making of music. We learn about rhythm. We learn about focusing and hard work and how our hard work can help us achieve goals. And many, many, many students who excel at music lessons and decide not to go into music, well, they become surgeons or doctors or other very successful people because they have the creativity and they know they have the determination to achieve whatever they want to achieve. That's what you're selling it. And by the way, you're selling this in a very, very difficult time for children right now where they don't know if they're going to get to go to school next week. This is a really, really great thing you're selling. And look online if you need more inspiration. Let's look at an astounding example of taking what I just said to the next level, which is a PDF. This is right online. The Royal Conservatory of Music has put this out, The Benefits of Music Education. This is 7 dense pages long in which we learn all about the neurological, the psychological, the academic benefits from music right here. This is this is 2 elevator speeches right here. I'm going to share this link in the chat in a moment, by the way. They have interviewed psychiatrists, psychologists, neurologists. This is a crazy amount of information for people who want to sign up for music lessons about the hemispheres in the brain and memory and all kinds of things. It's astounding. I'd love to go over all of this with all of you, but it would take another 2 hours, and we don't have that time. Not today. Maybe another time. I'm now going to put it in the chat if you want to save that. And so know what you are selling and the value of it, because music lessons online or in person can really, really be a good, consistent source of a student having somebody, a role model to look up to at a time when they need that. So is it bad of you? Is it sleazy of you to ask for money for that so that you can devote your time and energy? No, it's great. It's really great. And you're proud of it, and I'm proud of it, and we should all be proud of it, and we should not be ashamed to say you're proud of it. How has COVID changed what I do? COVID has changed the performance industry, I think, more than almost any other industry. I think so. I am a proponent of live streaming shows, which is what I'm doing right now, and my next live stream show is December 3rd. And so the reason why is using the same logic of, if people can't see my shows live stream is better than nothing. And do I want to give people a chance to, if allowed, invite a couple of friends over and hear some amazing history and be taken away and distracted and entertained and enlightened and inspired? Yes, I want to give that to people. Are the acoustics as good as a hall? No, they're not. Will they ever be? No. Will live performance always be better? Yeah, except for the fact that, people in remote areas can now see the show, but no one's arguing that live performance isn't amazing and wonderful. We just can't do it right now. And I'd rather connect with people and reach out to people with my work than sit at home in my sweatpants. And so that's why I continue live streaming. I had to again go back to the drawing board and learn what is live streaming and what do I need to do it. So that's been another humbling thing, but guess what? I have learned new skills and learned through hard knocks enough that I know it's just another time, and that's fine. And now we have our show, which is what, 5 weeks away or something like that. And so there are new skills involved with that, and the industry is changing because of it. But I have to say that change is a good time for artistic growth, and it's a time when new opportunities come about. And it's a time when a whole host of new careers are coming about in music, having to do with people who have expertise both in music and technology with live streaming, and many different careers that are offshooting from the scenario we now find ourselves in. How can we find out about this more? Contacts, reaching out, social media, connecting, hit like on a live stream company's page, see what they do, see what their updates are. And so we can learn so much through each other. Balancing all of these skills is perhaps the biggest challenge I face in my day-to-day life, my day-to-day career, because we've talked about a whole host of skills, most of which most people in the music industry need. How do I balance those and keep up practicing daily? That's, like I say, the most difficult thing I have to do. It takes a lot of energy, and there is a sacrifice. There is an element of sacrifice. I sleep a lot. I remember a Karen Kane interview. She's a very famous ballerina, for those of you who don't know. She said that she sleeps 12 hours a day because she trains so much. And I don't sleep quite 12 hours a day, but I do sleep a lot. That's one of my sacrifices, because I do rehearse several hours every day, as well as doing all of my business work, as well as teaching a small amount of students. It's tiring. I do work long hours, and I have decided it's worth it because I am making my vision come true. And do I wish sometimes that I had more time to maybe do things that other people do? Yes. Do I, every time somebody mentions a movie, I have no idea what they're talking about because I've hardly seen any movies. So there are these small sacrifices, but if this is what you want to do, do it, and do it with passion, and don't apologize for doing it, and don't doubt yourself. We have, like I say, a very interesting time going on right now. A lot of people are scared, and that's expected, and that's reasonable, and that's okay. However, I do want to note and close with, before the Q&A, 2 things that I personally find inspirational. And one of them is this guy right here in the left waving, Igor Stravinsky. Igor Stravinsky lived during the Spanish flu. The Spanish flu, which was not more in Spain than any other country. That's a whole other historical story of how it got its name. But we divide now Igor Stravinsky's career into 4 different periods, the second of which aligns with World War I, in which he didn't have access to the same performing forces as he did before. Did he curl up and stop composing and decide that he wasn't going to compose? No. He started a period which we now call the transitional years, where he wrote for small ensemble. His problem, his inability to find big ensembles to write for, is now in the history books as a new era for his creation. This is Olivier Messiaen, and he was taken as a war prisoner, Stalag 8, I think it was, in a Nazi war camp. And with that, he gathered up the few instruments they had around and the few musicians who could play, and he wrote the quartet for The End of Time. This is a time for art making, and this is a time to put everything that you are and you are experiencing into your art without fear and without apologizing, and with passion. And I really do believe that. And that is it. Let's start the Q&A.
Haley, that was wonderful. And can I just jump in to ask you to speak about one more thing?
Absolutely.
You did a build-up to your first concert in Carnegie Hall to get buzz that was astonishing. Could you tell the students how you did that?
I played Carnegie Hall. What year was this? I think it was about 5 years ago as a soloist with my friend who was a harpist, and it was a concert that was a part. There were many guest artists, and we were two of them. And I decided to, in a way, bring everybody along on my journey through social media, through I have an email newsletter, things like that. Because my career, my entire career, is that the behind the scenes story is pretty much more interesting than what's on stage. So what does it take to prepare for Carnegie Hall? What are the glamorous but also unglamorous things? And if you talk to other people about what you do, you'll find you get the most interesting reactions, that they're interested in all kinds of little things you didn't even think were interesting. Like, I covered everything from dress fittings to the history of Carnegie Hall to the rehearsal schedule, which terrified me because I was flying out on a Saturday, Sunday morning we had early rehearsal in some other decrepit church building somewhere, and then 3 hours later we had the show. And it terrified me because, I mean, for so many different reasons, right? Because everything that flying brings, and it dries you out, and then you don't know, you're just getting used to the area, and I didn't even know where I was staying, and I had, for so many different reasons. But that psychological game that I needed to play in order to be ready on stage, it turns out that people found that fascinating too. And so I'd make little videos about, this is how I'm going to prepare, this is what I'm doing today. I did an entire concert tour before I went to Carnegie. I lived in Winnipeg at the time, where my family is, about the history of Carnegie Hall and about preparing for it. And people were so interested, so interested. If you break down what it is you do on a daily basis, you'll find many people think it's really, really interesting. I found out all kinds of things about Carnegie Hall, and they almost bulldozed the thing. So it kind of goes along with my story of a lot of composers who gave up, or almost gave up, and then became hugely successful. So while maybe somebody else would have just put, oh, I'm playing in Carnegie Hall, this is great, and then why am I not getting big attention? I was marketing it. I was marketing it the same way that any big star who comes to a city, markets themselves, or at least I was trying. And instead of one concert, it turned into many concerts, and ended up being a really interesting real life story that was basically just me practicing and doing my ordinary things.
And the way that you did that, and you did the countdown, made, I hadn't seen you in 10 years by then, but I was on your side for the whole thing, and it really generated a lot of excitement.
Yeah.
It was brilliant marketing.
Yeah.
It was brilliant.
Yeah. And there's another lesson. You never know who is watching, who is listening. I've had many, many posts that I thought, oh, well, that was a dud. Nobody paid any attention to that. And then 2 years later, somebody's telling me about it. I'm thinking, oh, I thought nobody saw that. So that really goes along with believing in yourself and sticking to it, determination. I really believe that. Last time I said, you'll get 30 no's, 30 no emails, and then one yes. But you have to stick through the 29 first no's. You have to, and you can't let it stop you from believing in yourself, in your very core. That is so important, and we've all faced rejection, controversy, and that is a part of life, unfortunately.
And if you'll just allow me to make one more comment, students often ask about pricing. How much do I price my lessons, etc.? And you approach that really thoroughly with teaching. And I'll just mention, when live concerts do come back and you're trying to figure out how much a recital is worth, how much rehearsal time is worth, first of all, do what Haley suggested by reaching out to contacts, but you can also ask the local musicians union what standard rates are, so you can get some sort of a ballpark bigger.
Definitely.
Yeah. So just wanted to.
Definitely. Thank you. Yeah.
I had a question. This is more about like what you said at the beginning about when you started your business, and I was wondering when what you meant by like registering your name or like the business name or something, and I was wondering what that does because you said it wasn't mandatory.
Right. It's not mandatory. And what it does, the only reason why somebody would do it is to make sure that nobody else can use your name. Nobody else can use your business name. That's it. That you've laid claim to that, and you buy it for. It's different in every province. You buy it for maybe 4 years or 6 years or something like that, and you pay a small fee, but nobody else can register with that. It also allows me to open up a bank account under that company's name, and allows people to write checks to Aurelia Productions instead of Haley Marie. Again, is that necessary? No, especially not at the beginning. It's really not. But you may be in a situation at some point where you feel you'd rather have people write it to your company. Legally speaking, it doesn't do anything. It's a much bigger process to incorporate your company, which means that your company is a different legal element, and that is a whole other big project, and Victoria can most definitely speak to that. But what registering a company does, that's why I say it's unnecessary. And I mean, you don't have to have a company name, right? I mean, I could call my company Haley Marie Productions, right? There is a psychological element to having another company that it's representing a team. Is it mandatory? No. Is it something you might find is nice to have after a while? Yeah. Yeah. Are you going to be a failure if you don't do it? Absolutely not.
And if I can jump in again, Haley, on this topic, it's such a great question. Just an anecdote. When I was an undergraduate student, one of my colleagues was a female, which was unusual for then, a conducting student, and Wanda Kaluzny, and she registered the name of the Montreal Chamber Orchestra. And it was a bunch of students at the time, but this orchestra name is still hers. And I know at one point the Montreal Symphony wanted to buy this name, and the conducting Wanda said no, it was her name. So she had created this brand. I don't know if she's still active, but she created this brand. And because she registered the name, it was hers forever. So
Wow.
you never know. You never know.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah. It's the same thing with websites, that people buy them in anticipation of, that they're going to be big, and sometimes it works.
I had another question regarding social media. Personally, I find it like really scary. I have a bit of a fear about like posting things, and I was wondering, since you said like you are shy yourself, like ways you can gain confidence and be a little more vulnerable online.
Mm-hmm. That is a process for sure. Basically, if you take a look at where you are now, what you're comfortable with posting now, and where you want to be, I would actually do this on paper. I would grab a piece of paper, and at the top of the paper, here's where I am now. I'm comfortable posting this often, or I'm comfortable posting this much, or these are the things I am comfortable with and I'm not. That's where you are now. At the bottom of the page, right where you want to be. As much detail as you can. The more detail is better. I want to get to the point where I can post a picture of myself doing this, or a video of myself playing slow movement of Bach, or whatever it is you want to do, right? And that's gonna help. That's part of what we were talking about, deciding your own identity, deciding what you want to do. And then what I would do is maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks, it doesn't matter. You get one step closer and you write it down. You say, well, I'm one little step closer because I did this. And it's just one little step, not a big step. Anytime I've wanted to do something that's big and scary, I've always broken it down. anytime I've been successful anyway. Because I tend to get very overwhelmed with big goals. Like, oh, tomorrow I'm going to do this and I'm going to be this, and it never works. Small steps are the key. They are absolutely the key. And you can, I mean, talk to your friends, talk to colleagues, get feedback. If you're thinking, oh, that post was weird, or that was no good, or I don't know, I looked stupid, or something like that, talk to other people. If it would mean more to hear it from your colleagues as opposed to friends, talk to them. And to get their insight and to say, you know, please be honest. And it's going to be a huge confidence booster. But having a good idea, tangible idea of what are those things that you wish you could post that you aren't willing to right now, that you're too shy to do it, that's going to be step one. And I'm all about having visuals and lists and seeing yourself get there. And, you know, if it takes 20 steps, great. 30 steps, 40 steps, doesn't matter. You'll get there. And it's those small steps that are going to help. I use this principle a lot, especially time management, really busy days. If I am very, very busy and I don't have time to practice as much as I would want to, I practice for a little bit, but I practice. And I always tell this to my students. I say, practicing, and I mean this, practicing for 10 minutes is 1,000 times better than not practicing at all. Because there are so many neurological connections you're reinforcing, and of course you're going to, you know, work on something that you're weaker on. You're going to get all the muscle memory and everything. I've used that principle a lot when I'm overwhelmed with time as well. Small steps are the key. You do not need to be Superman or Superwoman every day. And you won't be, and I won't be. We wish we could be, but we're human, which is beautiful too.
Hi, thank you so much for the presentation today. That was really interesting. I had one question, and it's mostly in the view of timing, actually. I would be interested at some point, I'm a conductor, but I would be interested at some point to maybe contact a manager, and I was wondering about your views about when is the right moment to contact those people, or maybe your advice should be to not contact those people. That's possible too, but I don't know if you had thoughts about manager or agents or something like that. Yeah.
Right. To get a manager or an agent as a conductor. This is something a lot of people ask about. There are a few different approaches here. I would start to make contacts, reach out to people, follow them, check out what they're doing tonight, right away, tomorrow, Monday, whenever. There's a big difference between, I wouldn't right away send my email and I think that I want you to represent me in this and that. I would just get to know them. Get to know them as people, get to know what they do. Different agents and managers do different types of work with different artists. And so somebody that you may have heard of, you may decide, oh, that person actually doesn't represent the type of artist that I want to be at all, but his colleague does. And I know about his colleague only because I've been on social media. So the timing as far as, you know, getting them to see your name and hear about you, that can be done right away. The reality about getting an agent and a manager, what is in it for them? What's in it for them is that they will get a cut of whatever money you earn. And most, if not all, agents and managers only want to work with you once you have proven that you have a steady income and that there is something to take a percentage of. It is a fairly kind of pessimistic, dark view, but that's the reality, especially the busy ones. So the best approach actually for a lot of artists is to make yourself busy, make yourself booked, and then they'll actually come to you, and the best ones will come to you. The skills that you need to get a following, to get interest, that is the jackpot, no matter who you are. If you're the person on stage or backstage, that's the jackpot. I've heard a lot of agents say, that's not what I do. My job is to bring the most once you have a career, bring the most out of it. So I honestly think that even with or without an agent or a manager. At the beginning, there are a lot of ones who are not, they don't do business very ethically. They're going to take too much money. A lot of them also, beware of signing contracts. Be very, very careful and read it, because a lot of them will say, we have claim to all of your performances for the next 5 years, and you can only perform when we say. So not only are they not doing anything for you, but you're stuck in your career. So I would say, honestly, I'd say try to let it happen organically. Talk to them, comment on their things, comment on their posts. If there's a good chemistry there, if there's a good potential, then it'll happen. It is not necessary at all for a successful career, is definitely what I'd say. And a lot of artists actually choose to be independent and choose to keep that, because it's a fair sized chunk of what you're earning that they take, and choose to keep it. That's going to be a formula that's different for everybody. But learning these skills and reaching out and marketing, that's something that all artists are going to have to do. Yeah.
Thank you.
I was wondering if you had like any experience applying for grants, because I think that's like a really common thing I've heard about, and if you had like any advice regarding that.
Yes, applying for grants. My company is a for-profit company, and so I have not applied for very many grants at all. Most grants are available for not-for-profit companies and or charities. I would say, this is actually something I don't have a lot of experience in. I would say that getting an experienced grant writer would be the first person that I would go to, would be the first thing I would do, because they are very competitive and they are very involved and detailed. And so I would really solicit the help of somebody, again, contacts, that whole business, and again, reaching out in that it's probably not going to be as expensive as you think if you're going to hire somebody to work to create a grant for you. Carolyn, do you want to chime in here? Do you have some tips that I might not have?
Well, I'm not very helpful with grants. I never wrote any.
Okay.
But I like your idea of hiring somebody who writes one professionally, because it's getting to be so complicated now.
Yeah.
I was actually, if I could pop in, sorry, and just say that McGill has a ton of services in for the graduate students to help with grant writing and some of the research. And even though they don't know necessarily music specific ones, they can help with the writing end. So Graphos is one group, definitely. I'll see if I can find the link. It's through McGill, but they have writing workshops. So no matter what your topic is, you can write and they can help you tell you if it's sort of a grant oriented, and there's lots of services when you're in school for the grant writing. So definitely look into those and take advantage as you can.
That's fabulous. Thank you so much, Devin.
Last question that I had about this is when you were talking about how there's a lot of like inequities in the industry, and you would encounter a lot of just like unpleasant communications. And I was thinking, I've also experienced these things, but they always tend to happen like after the fact, and I'm thinking about it, and then I realize like that it's not right. And so you were talking about how you confronted this situation, and I was wondering how I could like realize these things quicker and like confront them when they happen, because the more time there is, I feel like the more it gets brushed under the rug.
Yeah, that's a great question, Lisa. That's a really good question. I feel like I have done the exact same thing as you, where you're in the moment, you want things to go well, and someone makes a comment and you laugh, and and then you leave, and it's like you won't catch everything because you're not perfect. It depends, I would say, as far as future actions. are you going to encounter this person again? Are you going to have to work with them again? And of course, the severity. I mean, if it's a very severe thing, then of course do something about it. But I would say, as far as recognizing things on the spot, I would consider having several good conversations with people you trust. They don't have to be musicians. They don't have to be your age. They don't have to, like, anybody you trust, family or anything, about what these things are that you have noticed. And if you can notice any keywords, common threads, situations, like I said, I often notice when it comes to negotiating and money and things like that, that if you can pick up on any of these trends of the things you didn't notice, then maybe you can be ready for them next time. So for example, me, if talking about money, if I were to pick up the phone right now and talk about a contract with somebody I didn't really know, I'd probably sit there for 20 seconds and think to myself, all right, this person says this, here's a go-to phrase that I like to use, beware of this, and just, 2 or 3 little hinters for myself, kind of be prepared.
Does anybody else have any questions? Terrific questions.
I did want to share, in case anyone wants to take note of them, please, I mean what I say as far as we need each other and we need to reach out. So I do want to share where you can find me, because I'm also very much willing to be included on any, threads, conversations about the things that we've talked about. And that I'm very sincere about. Here's my website, which I shared last time, haley-marie.com. And at the top, you can see here my Facebook site, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And it's all there. And I'm sincere about, reach out to me, message me. Let's get a thread going on social media about these topics. The video for today and for last time is going to be shared on the McGill site, which is a connection to the embedded YouTube video. Here is my Facebook, which is Haley Marie, or you can more easily find me at The Men Behind the Music through Facebook and Instagram, The Men Behind the Music. I have, like I said, a live stream show on December 3rd. It's my very first live stream show. And I would be delighted to talk about that and my experiences with that. Kind of a real life experiment, which is great. Life is one big experiment. So, so the conversation does not need to end here, and it should not end here. And the industry is evolving, and we need, and there are lots of exciting things to come. I really believe that. I think it's an exciting time. Yes, scary at times, but also exciting.
Well, look, Haley, this talk has been not only informational, but certainly so inspiring. And I want to thank you on behalf of McGill, the Performance Department, and the Catherine Thornhill Steele Fund, and everyone. You're so generous with your time, and thank you so much for doing this.
My pleasure, really my pleasure. I very much believe in sharing my story and in the lessons that I've learned. So I look forward to continuing the conversation, and wish everybody good health and safety and happiness.
Thank you, Haley.
And huge thank you to Professor Carolyn Christie for organizing Haley to come today. And on behalf of the students, this is a very enjoyable and extremely informative presentation. So I just want to thank everyone that helped with this process. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So much to Carolyn.